Hi there. Before we dive in, it's a fun idea if you drop a comment with your location. Thanks. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let's settle in and get started. I wake up before the alarm, as usual. The light filters through the blinds, soft and gray. It's quiet. Laura's already out of bed. Her side of the sheet's cool. I know she's been slipping out earlier these days, avoiding me or maybe avoiding the conversations that have become more strained. We don't talk like we used to. There's an emptiness between us that I've tried to ignore. 7 years of marriage, it's supposed to get easier with time, right? I get dressed, tie the knot on my tie carefully like I always do. I'm meticulous. Everything in its place. I've always prided myself on being disciplined, responsible. I don't overreact. I handle things. My job at the company demands that. As a regional sales manager, I control territory, meet quotas, manage people. I've built a life that's stable, steady. Laura used to be part of that life. Now, I'm not so sure. I head downstairs and she's already by the coffee machine dressed for work. She's beautiful, of course, but there's a coldness in her movements. Like she's here, but not really. But her eyes flicker to mine for a moment, then away, like the sight of me is something she can't quite tolerate anymore. I pretend not to notice. Morning, as I want to say, taking the mug she's left out for me. She doesn't respond, just pours herself a cup and walks out of the kitchen, leaving me standing there, the silence filling the gap between us. This has become normal, the way she distances herself. Little things, staying late at work, leaving the room when I come in, brushing off my touch. I try to tell myself it's a phase, that she's stressed or something. But I'm not stupid. I see it, feel it. It's Ethan's birthday tonight, my boss. There's an event at his house, some cocktail party for the department. I don't want to go, but Laura insisted. I'm not sure why. She's not exactly been interested in spending time with me lately. Maybe she wants to be seen, play the part of the perfect wife for a few hours. Fine, I'll go along with it. Smile, nod, shake hands. Keep things professional. At the party, Ethan is in his element. He's the type of guy everyone gravitates toward. Charismatic, wealthy, the kind of power that makes people want to be around him. He's always been a little too smug for my taste, but I play along. It's part of the job. Laura is beside me, looking stunning in her black dress, but there's a distance in her eyes, something off. I catch her glance toward Ethan more than once. At first, I shrug it off. It's just a party. She's being polite. But as the evening wears on, I notice the way she's laughing at his jokes, the way they seem to be sharing these quiet moments in the corner, whispering, too close. I try not to react, but my gut is twisting. Something's wrong. By the time we're supposed to leave, I've had enough. Ethan's standing too close to her, his hand brushing her arm, and Laura's smiling in that way she hasn't smiled at me in months. I want to grab her, drag her away, but I can't make a scene here, not in front of everyone. On the way home, the tension is suffocating. I want to ask her what the hell that was back there, but I hold my tongue. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm seeing things that aren't there. Laura's sitting next to me, staring out the window like I'm not even there. The silence between us is thick, and I hate it. I used to know every thought in her head. Now, I don't even recognize the woman sitting beside me. At home, I head straight to bed without saying a word. I can feel the storm building inside me, but I force it down. I won't accuse her without proof. I won't jump to conclusions. That's not me. I'm not some paranoid idiot. But I also can't shake the feeling that something's changed, something I can't ignore anymore. Laura doesn't come to bed until hours later. I hear the door creak open, her soft footsteps across the floor. She slips into bed, her back turned to me, as if even the thought of facing me is too much. I lie there staring at the ceiling, trying to hold on to the last threads of patience I have. But deep down I know, this isn't just a rough patch. There's something darker, something real lurking beneath the surface, and I'm going to find out what it is. Whatever this is between Laura and Ethan, it's not going to end well. For them, I'm sitting at the kitchen table the next morning, my mind spinning from the night before. The silence in the house feels heavier than usual. Laura's in the shower and I can hear the faint sound of water running. I sip my coffee, trying to shake the image of her laughing with Ethan out of my head, but it lingers, clawing at me. Then the doorbell rings. I stand, a sense of unease settling in my chest. I'm not expecting anyone. When I open the door, Ethan is standing there, a smirk on his face, casually leaning against the doorframe. He looks too comfortable, like he belongs here. The sight of him in front of my house turns my stomach. "Morning, Daniel," he says, like we're old friends. "What are you doing here?" I ask, my voice sharper than I intend. He reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out an envelope, waving it in the air. "Thought I'd make you an offer, Mom," he says, his smirk deepening. "I'm taking Laura out tonight. Figured you could use a little compensation for your time." I blink, trying to process what he just said. Taking Laura out? Compensation? I glance down at the envelope. He thrusts it into my hand, and I open it, pulling out a thick stack of bills, $5,000 in cash. "What the hell is this?" I snap, my blood starting to boil. Ethan shrugs. "It's simple. Laura and I have something going on, and I thought I'd give you a little break tonight. Go spend the money on something worthwhile. I hear there's a nice brothel across town." Before I can say anything, Laura steps into the room from behind me, and I turn to face her. She's dressed in a short, tight dress, her hair done up like she's about to hit a nightclub. She doesn't even look at me. "What the hell are you wearing?" I demand, my voice rising. She finally meets my eyes, but there's no warmth there. No guilt. Nothing. "It's over, Daniel," she says, her tone flat. "Ethan's better than you. In bed, in life, in everything." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stand there frozen as Ethan wraps his arm around her waist. She leans into him, smiling. My entire world feels like it's collapsing, but instead of the panic or hurt I'd expect, all I feel is rage. Pure, burning rage. It spreads through me like wildfire, numbing the shock. "So that's it?" I ask, my voice low but sharp. 7 years, and you just throw it all away?" Laura tilts her head, pretending to think for a second. "I never loved you, Daniel. Not really. You were just comfortable." "But I'm done with comfortable." Ethan laughs, a low, smug chuckle, and I clench my fists, my nails digging into my palms. I want to hit him, to wipe that arrogant look off his face, but something stops me. I realize in that moment they're not worth it, not worth the scene, not worth the satisfaction. Instead, I smile. It's tight, forced, but it's a smile. "Get out," I say quietly. Ethan raises an eyebrow, amused, but Laura just shrugs. Without another word, they walk out, leaving me standing there, gripping that envelope of cash. The door clicks shut behind them, and the house falls back into that suffocating silence. But this time I don't feel powerless. I feel calm, calculated. I sit back down at the table, placing the envelope in front of me. My mind is racing, but I don't allow the chaos to overwhelm me. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Laura and Ethan think they've won, that they can just walk away and leave me in the dust. They've underestimated me. I grab my phone and start making calls. First, to a private investigator I know through a mutual acquaintance. I need information. Everything there is to know about Ethan's business, his personal life, his weaknesses. I want to know how deep his wealth goes, how clean his hands really are. I've seen enough hints, enough rumors at work to know that his empire isn't as spotless as he likes to present it. Within an hour, I've set everything in motion. I've always been good at thinking on my feet, handling situations with precision. This will be no different. It's no longer about the betrayal. It's about It's about taking back control. I won't let them walk away with their smug smiles and their perfect little lives. I'll tear it all down, piece by piece, starting with Ethan. That night, I sit in the dark living room, a glass of whiskey in my hand. I imagine Laura with Ethan, the two of them laughing at me, thinking they've won. But I don't feel the pain I should. It's replaced by something else, cold, deliberate rage. It's funny how quickly things can shift. Last night, I was a husband trying to ignore the cracks in my marriage. Now I'm a man on a mission. Ethan thinks his money and charm make him invincible. Laura thinks her new life with him will be perfect. They're both wrong. I sit up straighter as my phone buzzes. It's the investigator. He's quick. Got something interesting for you, he says, his voice low and professional. Ethan's got more than a few skeletons in his closet. You were right. His wealth isn't clean. There are some offshore accounts, questionable dealings. Could get messy if someone started poking around. I smile to myself, the pieces falling into place. Keep digging. I want it all. I hang up and take another sip of whiskey, feeling the warmth spread through me. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about justice. Ethan's built his life on lies and manipulation, and I'm going to expose every inch of it. Laura's in deeper than I thought, too. The way she left without a second thought, the way she casually tossed our marriage aside, it's more than just lust. There's something else driving her, something I didn't see before, and now I'm going to find out what it is. The next morning, I'm at the office early. I act normal, play the part of the dutiful employee. Ethan's there, of course, throwing around his usual charm, but now I see through it. I notice the little cracks in his facade, the arrogance that hides something much darker. He catches my eye and gives me a nod, like we're still on good terms, like last night was just business. I nod back, but inside, I'm already planning his downfall. I won't rush. I won't make mistakes. This will be calculated. Every move, every decision will be designed to bring him down without him even seeing it coming. Laura, too, she'll realize too late that she backed the wrong horse, that she threw away everything for a man who's about to lose it all. By the time I'm finished, they'll both regret ever underestimating me. I lean back in my chair, watching Ethan as he moves through the office, completely unaware of the storm coming his way. This is just the beginning. They've made their move. Now it's my turn. Ethan and Tyra think they're untouchable, that they've wiped me out, left me a broken man. But what they don't know is that I've already started dismantling their little fantasy. Piece by piece, I'm going to burn it all down. And the best part, they won't see it coming. The private investigator I hired has been worth every dollar. He's efficient, thorough. What he's dug up on Ethan's business dealings is more than enough to set the stage. Offshore accounts, tax evasion, money laundering. The guy is knee-deep in a web of corruption, and Laura is blind to it. She thinks she's hitched herself to a man who can give her everything she's ever wanted. Little does she know that empire of his is built on lies. But I'm not rushing. No, I'm smarter than that. I'm not here for quick satisfaction. This needs to be slow, methodical. Ethan's arrogance will be his downfall. He's too comfortable, too sure of his status. I'll let him keep thinking he's won, that I'm nothing more than a nuisance from his past. Meanwhile, I'm making moves behind the scenes, setting traps he won't see until it's too late. It starts small. I leak just enough to raise suspicion, an anonymous tip to the press about a questionable deal. One of his partners suddenly finds themselves under scrutiny, and Ethan's name starts circulating in the wrong circles. It's not enough to ruin him yet, but it plants the seed of doubt. People start talking, whispering about the cracks in his pristine image. At the office, I keep my head down. I'm still playing the role of the heartbroken husband, the guy who got screwed over. It works. No one suspects a thing. Even Ethan gives me those condescending pats on the back, as if he's being gracious by not flaunting his victory. The more he treats me like I'm irrelevant, the more power I gain over him. Let him think I'm weak. That's what makes this all the more satisfying. Then there's Laura. She's trying to play both sides. After that humiliating scene at the house, she's been distant, but every now and then she tries to act like there's still something between us, as if she feels guilty. She doesn't. It's just another act. But I let her play her games. I take her calls, meet her for coffee when she asks. She puts on the same fake smile, trying to act like we can still be friends, or whatever bullshit she's telling herself. I can see right through her. Each time we meet, I ask subtle questions, probing, trying to figure out what her role in all this really is. It becomes clear quickly. She doesn't know half of what Ethan's involved in. She's just along for the ride, thinking she's found someone who can give her the life she's always dreamed of. When she talks about Ethan, her voice is full of admiration, but it's shallow. She's not in love with him. She's in love with his power. One afternoon, we're sitting at a cafe. She's wearing that same designer dress she used to flaunt in front of me, the one she bought with my money. I sit across from her, watching her play with her phone as she waits for her latte. "I've been thinking," she says, her voice soft, "about us." "Us?" I raise an eyebrow. "There is no us, Laura." Her eyes narrow, a brief flash of frustration crossing her face. She hates it when she's not in control. "I just mean, it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to hate each other." I take a sip of my coffee, watching her closely. "You made your choice." She leans in, lowering her voice. "Ethan's complicated. There's a lot going on with him, things I didn't expect." Her fingers tap nervously on the table. "I don't know if I can trust him like I thought I could." There it is, the crack I've been waiting for. She's starting to doubt him, but I keep my face neutral, not giving anything away. "What do you mean?" I ask, pretending to be concerned. She hesitates, then shrugs. "I don't know, it's just, there are things he's involved in, shady things. I didn't sign up for this." Her voice drops even lower. "He's dangerous, Daniel." For a moment, I let the silence hang between us. She's fishing for something, some reaction, some way back to me. She thinks I'm her safety net, the guy who will be there when her little fantasy with Ethan blows up. But I'm not the man she left. I'm not her backup plan. I lean forward, my voice calm and steady. "You chose him. You made that decision when you walked out. Whatever mess you've gotten yourself into, that's on you." She stares at me, her eyes searching for something. Sympathy, understanding, anything. I give her nothing. Finally, she leans back, defeated. "Fine," she mutters, taking a sip of her drink. "You've always been cold, Daniel. I guess I shouldn't expect that to change." I let her words slide off me. She's trying to provoke me, but I won't bite. I've already won this little game. As soon as she leaves, I make another call to the investigator. I need more. If Laura's starting to panic, it means Ethan's house of cards is already shaking. I just need to push a little harder. Over the next few weeks, I escalate. I leak more information, strategically targeting Ethan's business associates. One of them gets spooked and cuts ties with him, leaving him scrambling to cover his tracks. He starts losing control, and I can see it. He's more irritable at work, snapping at people, taking more phone calls behind closed doors. He knows something's wrong, but he can't pin it on me. I'm still playing my part perfectly. I start showing up at some of Laura's favorite spots, places we used to go together, restaurants she loves. I run into her accidentally more than once, always acting cordial, polite. It unnerves her. She knows something's off, but she can't figure out what. The power dynamics are shifting. I can see it in the way she looks at me now, nervous, uncertain. She thought she'd walked out on a broken man. She has no idea who I am now. One evening, after a particularly tense day at work, I get a text from her. It's vague, asking if we can meet. I know something's up, so I agree, setting the time and place. When I arrive, she's already there, pacing nervously. As soon as she sees me, she rushes over, her face pale. "Daniel, I don't know what's going on, but Ethan, he's involved in something big." I'm scared. I keep my expression neutral, but inside I'm smiling. This is what I've been waiting for. "What do you want from me, Laura?" "I don't know," she whispers, glancing around like someone's watching. "I think he's in trouble, serious trouble. I don't know what to do." I tilt my head, studying her. "And why should I help you?" Her breath catches, and for a moment she looks genuinely afraid. Because we were married, you still care, don't you?" I feel a flash of anger, but I bury it. This is just another one of her manipulations. She's trying to drag me back into her mess because she's scared. She never cared about me. She only cares about herself. "I don't owe you anything," I say coldly. Her eyes widen and I see the panic setting in. She's losing control and it terrifies her. Daniel, please, she whispers. I'm begging you. I stand there for a moment, watching her crumble. Part of me wants to walk away right then and there, to leave her to whatever fate she's entangled herself with. But I know I'm not done yet. There's still more to this game. I'll think about it, I say, turning to leave. As I walk away, I feel the weight of the victory settling on my shoulders. She's scared. She knows she's trapped, and she thinks I'm the only one who can save her. But I'm not here to save anyone. I'm here to destroy everything they built on my back. That night, I sit at my desk, going over the information my investigator has sent. It's all here, every shady deal, every illicit transaction. Ethan's entire empire is built on fraud and deception. It's only a matter of time before the authorities catch up to him. I'm just accelerating the process. But I'm careful. I know how dangerous Ethan is. Laura wasn't lying about that. He's ruthless, and when he figures out what's happening, he'll come after me. That's why I need to be one step ahead. I need to make sure that when he falls hard, and there's no getting back up. The next morning, I make a few more calls. This time, I start planting seeds with the authorities. I know who to talk to, who'll listen. It's a delicate balance, making sure it doesn't trace back to me, but I've been meticulous. Everything's falling into place. I'm playing the long game, and soon they'll both realize just how badly they've underestimated me. They started this war, but I'm going to finish it. The night of the gala arrives. Ethan and Laura are in the spotlight, both dressed in their finest, soaking up the attention. I watch from the shadows, blending into the crowd unnoticed. Ethan thrives in these environments. Flashy events, important people. He lives for the admiration. He thinks he's untouchable, thinks the world revolves around him. That confidence is what's going to destroy him. My heart beats steadily. No hesitation, no second thoughts. I'm in control. The plan is in motion. I've tipped off the federal agents. They've been watching him for weeks, waiting for the right moment. Tonight is that moment. Laura glances around the room, her hand resting lightly on Ethan's arm. But I see it, the unease in her eyes, the way her fingers twitch nervously. She's not as composed as she tries to be. She senses something's wrong, but she's too deep in now. She doesn't know who to trust, doesn't know which direction to turn, and that's exactly where I want her. I sip my drink, keeping my distance, watching them laugh and mingle. The tension in the room is rising, even if no one realizes it yet. It's like the air has thickened, and any second the pressure will break. I've planned every detail. The agents will make their move soon, and when they do, Ethan's world will come crashing down. All his money, his power, the connections he's used to protect himself, it's all going to unravel in front of everyone. His empire is built on lies, and tonight, the truth will rip it apart. Laura steps away from Ethan, making her way to the bar. I can feel her gaze searching the room, and for a brief second, our eyes meet. She stops, her breath catching, but I don't break the stare. She knows. She knows I'm the one pulling the strings now. She doesn't approach me, though. Instead, she turns, looking over her shoulder at Ethan, uncertainty creeping across her face. Good, let her sweat, let her feel the weight of her decisions. She threw everything away for him, and now she'll watch it all burn. The minutes tick by, each one pulling the tension tighter. My phone vibrates in my pocket, a message from the contact in the FBI. We're moving in. I slip the phone back, draining the last of my drink. This is it. I watch the agents file in, blending with the crowd at first. They're professionals, subtle but decisive. Ethan hasn't noticed yet, too busy charming some CEO. But the moment's coming. I can feel it. Then it happens. One agent breaks from the group, walking straight toward Ethan. Another approaches from the side. I see the shift in the room, the way people begin to notice. A murmur starts, spreading like wildfire. "Mr. Blackwood," the lead agent says, his voice low but commanding, "you're under arrest." The room goes silent, all eyes on Ethan as the agents close in. Laura freezes at the bar, her drink halfway to her lips. I watch her face pale, the blood draining from her cheeks as the reality of the situation hits her. "What the hell is this?" Ethan snaps, his eyes darting around, looking for an escape. But there's none. The agents are surrounding him now, and there's nowhere to run. The agent pulls out a pair of handcuffs, clicking them open. You're being charged with multiple counts of fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. Ethan's face twists in disbelief, then rage. He struggles against them, but it's futile. His arrogance crumbles as they force his arms behind his back, snapping the cuffs in place. The crowd watches in stunned silence, too shocked to move. I take a slow breath, letting the satisfaction wash over me. This is what I've waited for, to see him brought down, humiliated, powerless. Laura's eyes are wide, flicking between Ethan and the agents, panic setting in. She's paralyzed, unsure of what to do. Wait, she yells, finally breaking her silence, rushing toward them. There must be some mistake. You can't, ma'am, step back, one of the agents says, holding out a hand to stop her. This is a federal investigation. She falters, her desperation showing now. No, please, you don't understand. Laura, Ethan barks, his voice sharp, filled with fury. Shut up, she flinches, and for a moment I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. But then I remember the way she laughed, the way she walked out of our life like I didn't matter. This is what she chose. She's in this mess with him, and now she'll face the consequences. As the agents lead Ethan away, I step forward, making my way toward Laura. She's still standing by the bar, her hands trembling. She doesn't see me until I'm right in front of her. When she looks up, her eyes are filled with something I haven't seen before. Fear. You did this, she whispers, her voice barely audible. I don't deny it. There's no point in pretending anymore. I told you, Laura, you made your choice. Tears well in her eyes, but she blinks them back, trying to hold on to whatever dignity she has left. I didn't know, Daniel. I didn't know what he was involved in. I lean in closer, my voice low and cold. You didn't care. You wanted his money, his power, and now you're paying the price. Her lip quivers, and for a second I see the girl I once loved. But that girl's gone, replaced by this shell of a woman who sold herself for a fantasy, and I won't let her drag me down with her. She reaches out, her hand brushing my arm. Please, Daniel, help me. The irony of the moment isn't lost on me. She's begging for my help, after everything she did. But I'm not here to save her. I'm here to watch her fall. I step back, letting her hand drop to her side. I can't help you, Laura. Not anymore. Her face crumples and she turns away, clutching the bar for support. I leave her there, broken and alone, walking out of the room as the weight of her choices finally crashes down on her. Outside, the night air is cool, refreshing. The chaos inside the gala feels like a distant memory already. I've done what I came to do. Ethan's finished, and Laura? Well, she'll have to find her own way out of the mess she's in. But as I walk away, there's a hollowness inside me. I expected to feel triumphant, victorious, and yet there's this lingering emptiness, a nagging question I can't shake. What now? Ethan's gone. Laura's destroyed. I got my revenge, but it didn't fix anything. It didn't bring me peace. If anything, it's left me colder, more disconnected than before. I thought bringing them down would make everything right, but it hasn't. I'm still standing here, alone with nothing but the echoes of the past. My phone buzzes again. Another message from the investigator. He's got more information on Ethan's dealings, more pieces of the puzzle. But I don't care anymore. It's over. I'm done. I delete the message without reading it and slip the phone back into my pocket. I don't need to know any more about Ethan. He's not my problem anymore. As I walk through the quiet streets, I realize the truth. This isn't about Ethan. It never was. It's about me, about what I've become in the process of seeking revenge. I've spent so long focused on destroying them that I didn't see what it was doing to me. I stop at the corner, looking up at the night sky. The stars are dim, barely visible through the city lights. I wonder if there's any way to go back, any way to rebuild after everything that's happened. But the truth is, I don't think I want to. I've changed too much. The man I was, the man who believed in love, in loyalty, that man is gone. Maybe that's the real price of revenge. Not the destruction of others, but the destruction of yourself. I turn down the street, heading toward my apartment. There's nothing left to do now but move on. But as I walk, I can't help but feel the weight of the emptiness inside me. I thought revenge would fill the void, but it hasn't. It's only made it deeper. In the distance, I hear sirens, the aftermath of the raid still playing out. But it feels distant, irrelevant. Ethan, Laura, their betrayal. It's all behind me now. What lies ahead? I don't know, but I'll face it the same way I've faced everything else, with cold, calculated resolve, because that's who I am now. That's who I've become, and there's no going back. I sit at my desk, the hum of the city outside filling the gaps in my thoughts. The satisfaction of Ethan's fall should have felt sweeter. I expected to feel a surge of triumph, like I had conquered something insurmountable. But the aftermath is quieter than I imagined, hollow in a way that gnaws at me. The pieces fell exactly as I wanted them to, but the emptiness remains. Ethan is finished. That much is clear. He's facing charges that will bury him in legal battles for years. His money, his connections, they won't save him this time. And Laura, she's nothing now. Without Ethan's protection, she's been left stranded. I hear rumors, her account's frozen, her luxury car repossessed. She's scrambling, probably looking for her next move. But I'm not part of her future anymore. I don't expect to hear from her again, not after the way I left her at that gala. But when the phone rings and I see her name flash on the screen, I'm not surprised. Desperate people always circle back. I let it ring a few times before answering. Daniel, her voice cracks. She's been crying. I need to see you. There's a part of me that wants to hang up, to let her drown in the consequences of her own choices. But another part of me, the one that hasn't let go completely, wants to see the aftermath, wants to know if she's finally hit the bottom. Where, I ask. Please, just meet me. We can talk. I need to explain. I know it's a lie. She doesn't want to explain. She wants a lifeline. She wants me to save her from the wreckage of her life. But I'll go. Not because I care about what she has to say, but because I want to look her in the eyes one last time, to see the full weight of her fall. I meet her at a small cafe downtown, the kind of place where no one knows your name and no one cares to learn it. When I walk in, she's already there, hunched over a cup of coffee, her once perfect appearance now frayed at the edges. Her hair is pulled back hastily, and her eyes are red, rimmed with exhaustion. The designer clothes she once flaunted seem out of place on her now, like a mask that no longer fits. She looks up as I approach, her eyes searching mine for something, hope maybe, but I give her nothing. Thank you for coming, she says, her voice fragile. I sit across from her, my movements slow and deliberate. What do you want, Laura? She flinches at my tone, but tries to compose herself. I made a mistake, she whispers. With Ethan, with everything. I say nothing. I let her continue. You were right, she goes on, tears gathering in her eyes. He wasn't who I thought he was. He used me, Daniel. He promised me a life, and I believed him. But I was wrong. The desperation in her voice feels like an echo of the past. The same woman who once mocked me, told me I wasn't enough. Now she's sitting across from me, shattered, begging for a second chance. But this isn't about forgiveness. It never was. You didn't care what he was, I replied coldly. You just wanted what he could give you. You wanted the money, the power. You wanted to feel important. She shakes her head, her tears spilling over. No, it wasn't just that. You never loved me, I cut her off, my voice sharp. You admitted it. You wanted something bigger, something better. And now that it's all gone, you come crawling back. Her face crumples, and for a moment I see the girl I used to know. But I can't let myself be fooled. That girl is gone, replaced by this broken woman who only cares about saving herself. I don't want anything from you, she sobs, but we both know that's a lie. I need you to know that I'm sorry. Sorry? I laughed bitterly. You're not sorry, Laura. You're scared. You're scared because everything you built your life on has crumbled, and now you're standing in the ruins, looking for someone to pull you out. She drops her head into her hands, her shoulders shaking. I watch her unravel, and for a brief moment, I feel something close to pity. But it vanishes as quickly as it came. I didn't come here for her tears. I came to close this chapter once and for all. I stand up, pushing my chair back slowly. You made your choice, I say quietly. And now you have to live with it. She looks up at me, her face streaked with tears, but I don't feel anything anymore. Not anger, not sadness, not even satisfaction. Just nothing. As I turn to leave, she calls after me, her voice desperate. Daniel, please. But I keep walking. There's nothing left to say. Outside, the cool air hits my face and I take a deep breath, trying to shake the weight of the conversation. I thought seeing her like that would bring me closure, but it doesn't. If anything, it leaves me feeling more hollow than before. I walk aimlessly through the streets, in my mind replaying the events of the past few months. I've destroyed Ethan. I've taken everything from him, exposed him for the fraud he is. Laura is a casualty of her own greed. And yet, despite all of it, the emptiness inside me remains. I stop at the edge of a park, watching the people pass by. Families, couples, children, all living their lives, blissfully unaware of the darkness that's consumed mine. For them, the world is simple. For me, it's a battlefield I've barely survived. My phone buzzes in my pocket, pulling me back to the present. It's a message from the investigator. Found something else on Ethan. Need to meet. I frown reading the message again. I thought everything was over. I thought I'd seen the full extent of Ethan's corruption, but apparently there's more. And suddenly, I'm not sure if I want to know what it is, but curiosity gets the better of me. I respond quickly, setting up a meeting for later that evening. I'm not done yet, not until I've uncovered every last secret, every hidden truth. The investigator meets me at a dimly lit bar on the outskirts of town. He slides a folder across the table, his expression unreadable. What's this? I ask, flipping it open. Something I didn't catch before, he says quietly. Ethan was involved in more than just fraud and money laundering. There's another layer. I scan the documents, my eyes narrowing as I read. It's worse than I thought, much worse. Ethan wasn't just skimming money from shady deals. He was connected to something bigger, something far more dangerous. Trafficking, exploitation. The kind of things that destroy lives in ways I hadn't imagined. Why didn't you find this earlier? I asked, my voice tight. It was buried deep, hidden under layers of false records, shell companies. But once I knew where to look, it all started to make sense. I closed the folder, my mind racing. This changes everything. Ethan's crimes weren't just about greed or power. They were about control. He ruined lives, manipulated people, turned them into pawns in his twisted game. And now I'm left wondering how deep Laura was in this, how much she knew, how much she was complicit in. A part of me wants to drop it, to walk away and leave this dark revelation in the past. But I can't. Not now, not after everything I've uncovered. If Laura knew, if she was part of this, even in some small way, then I need to know. I need to confront her one last time. I thank the investigator and leave the bar, my mind spinning with the new information. I should feel angry, but all I feel is a cold, calculated resolve. This isn't over. Not yet. I find Laura at her apartment, the place Ethan set her up in before everything came crashing down. She answers the door, her face pale and drawn, and I don't waste time with pleasantries. We need to talk, I say, pushing past her into the living room. She follows me, her eyes wide with confusion. Daniel, what? Did you know? I asked sharply, turning to face her. About Ethan's other dealings? The trafficking? The exploitation? Did you know what kind of man he really was? Her face goes white, and for a moment, I see the truth in her eyes. She knew. Maybe not everything, maybe not the full extent of his crimes, but she knew enough. Enough to make her guilty. I didn't know all of it, she stammers, tears filling her eyes again. I thought it was just business deals, money. I didn't know. Stop lying, I snap, my voice cold. You knew enough to keep going, didn't you? You didn't care what he was doing as long as you got your share. She collapses onto the couch, her hands trembling. I didn't, I didn't think it was real. I didn't want to believe. I stand over her, my anger simmering beneath the surface. You were part of this, Laura. Whether you want to admit it or not, you let yourself get dragged into his world, and now you're paying the price. She sobs, her whole body shaking, but I don't feel any pity. She made her choices just like Ethan did, and now she's facing the consequences. I walk to the door, pausing only for a moment. Goodbye, Laura. As I leave, I feel the finality of it all settling over me. There's no going back now. I've destroyed everything Ethan built, and Laura's left to pick up the pieces of her own shattered life. But even as I walk away, that gnawing emptiness remains. I've won, but at what cost? Laura stands in front of me, her eyes hollow, her once sharp edges dulled. She's not the woman who left me for Ethan, full of arrogance and desire for a life that glittered. Now she's just a shell, stripped of everything she thought made her powerful. And I'm staring at her, realizing that, in my quest for revenge, I've become the same. I can't recognize myself either. Her hands tremble slightly as she clasps them together, standing in my doorway like she doesn't know how she got here. I don't invite her in. We stay in this space, this uncomfortable limbo, where both of us are too broken to make the next move. It's ironic how we both ended up like this, emptier than before, but still tethered by the mess we created. I know why you hate me, she says softly, her voice barely rising above a whisper. And you're right. I say nothing. What's there to say? I've already burned everything to the ground, and she was one of the casualties. No, she was the main target, but now, with Ethan gone, it's like the fire that fueled me has flickered out. I should feel satisfaction, the kind I dreamed about when I first started this, but it's not there. It's just quiet. Ethan's dead, she says suddenly, her eyes locked on mine, searching for something. Shock, maybe. Pity, but I give her nothing. Good, I finally reply, my voice cold. He deserved it. Her face twists like my words hurt her, but she doesn't argue. She knows what he did, and no matter how much she loved the life he offered, deep down, she knows she was a part of something rotten. The weight of it must be suffocating her, because I can see it in the way she stands, like she's collapsing in on herself piece by piece. I should feel triumph in this moment. I took down Ethan. I ripped apart the world they built together. But watching her now, watching her crumble, there's nothing left to win. My revenge has run its course, but the hollowness inside me hasn't gone anywhere. Is this what you wanted? She asks, tears welling in her eyes. For me to end up like this? Was this your plan? I stare at her for a long moment, trying to feel anything. Anger, satisfaction, even pity. But I can't. You made your choices, Laura. I didn't force you into this. She steps closer, desperation creeping into her voice. But we made mistakes, Daniel. Both of us. Can't we just let it go? The absurdity of the question hangs between us. Let it go? After everything? After she shattered my life? After I destroyed hers in return? There's no going back from that. We're not the same people anymore. Revenge changed me, made me colder, more calculated, and it left her as this broken thing standing in front of me. No, I say quietly, shaking my head. We can't go back. She collapses onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. I watch her, unmoved, but inside something twists. This is it, the final reckoning. Not with Ethan, not with Laura, but with myself. I've spent so much time focused on tearing them apart, I never stopped to think about what it would leave me with. I loved you once, she whispers through her sobs, her voice barely audible. I didn't want it to end like this. I almost laugh at the words. Loved me? If this is what love looks like, then I've been wrong my whole life. But instead of laughing, I just feel tired, exhausted, like the weight of everything is finally catching up to me. Love isn't what you think it is, I say, my voice as cold as the room around us. You left me the moment you thought there was something better. That's not love, Laura. That's greed. She looks up at me, her eyes filled with pain, and for a moment I see the woman I once cared about, the one I thought I could build a life with. But that person is long gone and there's no use pretending otherwise. Then why didn't you just leave? She asks, her voice cracking. Why did you have to destroy everything? Because I couldn't let you win, I snap, the anger finally surfacing. You walked away from me like I was nothing, like we didn't spend years building something together. You threw it all away for Ethan's money, for his power, and you didn't care who you hurt in the process. I didn't know what he was, she cries, standing up, her tears falling freely now. I didn't know who he really was. I thought I thought he could give me a life we couldn't have. And look where that got you, I say, my voice hard. You lost everything. You ruined us for nothing. The truth hangs heavy in the air between us, and for the first time I see it in her eyes. Regret. But it's too late for that now. Regret won't fix anything. She steps closer, her voice pleading now. I'm sorry, Daniel, I really am. I didn't mean for it to end like this. I look at her, the woman who tore my life apart, the woman I spent so much time trying to ruin in return, and I realize I don't have any fight left. I've won, but the victory feels empty. I've lost just as much as she has. We're done, Laura, I say quietly. You can't fix this. She breaks down, sinking back onto the couch, her sobs filling the room. I turn away, unable to watch her fall apart any longer. I head for the door, the finality of it all settling over me. Daniel, please, she calls after me, but I don't stop. I don't look back. I've already said everything that needed to be said. As I step outside, the cold air hits me, sharp and biting. I take a deep breath, letting it fill my lungs, and for the first time in months, I feel something close to relief. It's over. The war I started, the one I thought would give me closure, has finally ended. But it didn't bring the peace I wanted. It only left me with more questions. I've spent so much time plotting my revenge, I never thought about what would come after. What do you do when the fight is over? When the enemies are gone and there's no one left to destroy, I walk aimlessly through the city, my mind churning with the emptiness of it all. Ethan's gone, Laura's broken, and I'm free to move on, to start over. But as I walk, I realize something. Freedom doesn't feel the way I thought it would. It doesn't feel like release. It feels like a void, like I've stripped everything away and now I'm standing alone, with nothing left to hold on to. I stop at the edge of a park, watching the people around me. Couples, families, people going about their lives like everything is normal. I used to be like them. Once, I used to think life was simple, that love was enough. But now I know better. Life isn't simple, and love is a lie we tell ourselves to make the emptiness easier to bear. I sit on a bench, staring at the world passing by. It's strange how quiet everything seems now that the storm has passed. For months, I lived in chaos, driven by a need to tear everything down. Now, with the pieces scattered around me, I don't know where to go from here. I pull out my phone, scrolling through messages I haven't bothered to read. One from the investigator. He wants to know if I found closure. Another from a former colleague asking how I'm doing. I delete them both. None of it matters anymore. As I sit there alone in the cold, I realize that revenge didn't just destroy Ethan and Laura. It destroyed me too. I'm not the man I was when this started. I've become something darker, something colder. And I'm not sure if I can ever go back. The realization settles over me like a weight, and for the first time, I wonder if this was worth it. Was it worth losing everything just to get even? Was it worth tearing myself apart for the sake of revenge? I stand up, shoving my hands into my pockets, and start walking again. I don't know where I'm going, but it doesn't matter. There's no destination for me now. Just forward, one step at a time, into whatever comes next. As I walk, I think about Laura's words, her apology, her regret, Maybe she meant it. Maybe she didn't. It doesn't change anything. We're both too broken to fix. We've torn each other apart, and there's no going back from that. In the end, revenge didn't bring me peace. It only left me standing in the wreckage of a life I can barely recognize. But maybe that's what I wanted all along, to burn it all down and see what's left. I keep walking, leaving behind the memories, the ghosts, the regrets. There's no future for me in them. There's only the road ahead and whatever it holds. And as I walk, for the first time, I feel truly alone. I stand at the edge of my old life, staring out over a city that once seemed familiar. Now it feels like a distant memory, something that belonged to someone else, someone who believed in love, loyalty, and the promises people made. But that man is gone. What's left is me, harder, colder, and alone. The weight of everything I've done hangs in the air. Ethan is dead. Laura is broken, a shadow of the woman she once was. And me? I'm free, but it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like I've traded one prison for another, one built not of bars but of the choices I made. Revenge consumed me, and now that it's over, I'm left standing here wondering what comes next. I thought destroying them would bring me peace, that I'd finally feel whole again once I'd torn their lives apart. But the satisfaction was fleeting. I see now that the damage isn't just on them, it's on me too. I've burned everything to the ground, and now I'm standing in the ashes with nothing left to hold on to. I walk down the street, the city alive around me, but I feel disconnected from it all. People move past me, wrapped up in their own lives, their own struggles, while I drift through like a ghost. There's a heaviness in my chest that I can't shake, a sense that I've crossed a line I can never come back from. The memories come in flashes. Laura's betrayal, Ethan's smug smile, the humiliation that started it all. It feels like a lifetime ago, but the emotions are still raw, like an open wound that never quite healed. I thought revenge would be the cure, but it wasn't. It was just another kind of poison. I think about Laura, the way she crumbled in front of me, begging for forgiveness, for a second chance. I walked away from her, just like she walked away from me. But as much as I want to hate her, I can't. Not completely. She's a victim of her own choices, just like I am. Maybe that's the real lesson in all of this. There are no winners. Revenge didn't give me the victory I wanted. It only made me realize how much I've lost. Ethan is gone, but what does that change? He's just one more ghost haunting me, a reminder of the man I used to be and the one I became. I find myself at the park, the same one I came to after I left Laura that last time. I sit on the bench, staring at the empty playground in the distance. It's quiet, peaceful, but the calm feels wrong. I'm restless, like I've been running for so long that now, with nowhere left to go, I don't know how to stop. My phone buzzes in my pocket, but I don't check it. It's probably the investigator again, or maybe someone from the office. I don't care. None of it matters anymore. The life I had, the one filled with schedules, meetings, deadlines, it's gone. All of it burned away in the fire of my revenge. I lean back, closing my eyes, letting the cool air wash over me. For a moment, I let myself imagine what could have been. If Laura had stayed, if I'd forgiven her, if I'd let it go. But that's not who I am. I can't forgive. I don't know how to let things go. I see that now. And maybe that's my greatest flaw, the thing that's destroyed me just as much as it destroyed them. When I open my eyes again, the sun is starting to set, casting long shadows across the park. The world keeps moving, indifferent to everything I've done. That's the thing about revenge. It feels so personal, so all-consuming in the moment. But in the grand scheme of things, it changes nothing. The world doesn't stop for your pain. It doesn't care about your triumphs or your losses. It just keeps going. I stand up, stretching, feeling the weight of the past few months settling deep into my bones. There's nothing left for me here. The revenge is over, the battle won, but the victory is hollow. I think about what the investigator said, closure. He asked if I found it. The truth is, I don't know if there is such a thing. Maybe closure is just something we tell ourselves we're looking for, but it doesn't really exist. Not in the way we think. I walk toward the edge of the park, the sounds of the city growing louder as I step back into the street. I'm not sure where I'm going, but I know it's not here. This chapter is done. The ghosts of Laura and Ethan will always be with me, but I can't stay in their shadow forever. I need to move forward, even if I don't know what that looks like yet. As I turn the corner, I glance back one last time at the park, at the bench where I sat, at the life I once thought I could have. It's strange how quickly things change, how the people you think you know can become strangers overnight, how love can turn into something so twisted, so broken. I keep walking, my mind racing with thoughts of what comes next. Maybe I'll leave the city, start fresh somewhere else. Or maybe I'll stay and try to rebuild something from the wreckage. I don't know. But for the first time, I'm not thinking about the past. I'm thinking about the future, about what's left for me. I can't say I'm hopeful. I don't even know if I believe in hope anymore. But I'm not afraid either. I've faced the worst parts of myself and I've survived. That has to count for something, even if I'm not sure what. The night air is cool, and as I walk, I feel a sense of clarity settling over me. I don't need answers right now. I don't need to figure everything out. I just need to keep moving, one step at a time, into whatever comes next. I leave behind the ghosts of Laura and Ethan, of who I was and who I became. The scars are still there, and they always will be, but they're part of me now, woven into the fabric of my life. I can't change the past, but I can decide how I live with it. And so I walk forward, not knowing where I'm going, but ready to face whatever comes, alone but free.